Queen, wake up. We still have plans.
They say poison can silence the body, but it cannot silence destiny. Queen did not die. She slipped into something worse. A coma. Machines breathed for her. Doctors spoke carefully. Chinedu stopped living normally. And Amaka waited, because in her mind, it was only a matter of time. Hospitals have a smell. Hope mixed with fear. Chinedu sat beside Queen every day, holding her hand. Amaka stood nearby, wearing the face of a devoted sister. She cooked for him, brought him food, stayed late at the hospital. If anyone saw her, they would say, "What a caring woman." But inside Amaka's head, she was counting days. Amaka slowly stepped into spaces that were not hers. She started answering Chinedu's calls.
Hello, he's resting. I'll tell him you called. You must stay strong. Queen would want that.
She started sitting closer. Too close. But Chinedu was not that man. He did not lean into comfort. He leaned into loyalty. And Amaka realized something dangerous. One evening, Amaka spoke softly. "Chinedu, come home tonight. Just rest. You need it." Exhaustion said yes before his mind could say no. That night, she cooked his favorite meal. Set the table. Poured drinks. "Just one," she whispered. One became two. Two became many. Soon, his head was heavy. His words slow. She led him to the guest room. "Rest," she murmured, and she left the door slightly open. Because sometimes lies don't need proof. They only need suggestion. She couldn't steal him gently. She would have to trap him. Because grief opens doors that love never would. The next morning, Chinedu woke confused. Amaka entered quietly, wrapped in a shawl. "Did something happen last night?" he asked slowly. Amaka hesitated just long enough, then whispered, "We were both hurting. It just happened." Guilt landed before memory. Chinedu buried his face in his hands. "Oh God!" Amaka placed a gentle hand on his shoulder. "It's okay. We're human." And just like that, she planted obligation. Weeks later, Amaka stood in the doorway, eyes wet. "Chinedu, I'm pregnant." The room fell silent. He staggered back. "Pregnant?" She nodded slowly. "I didn't want to say anything, but I can't hide it." What no one knew was this. The child was not Chinedu's. It belonged to Tunde, the Uber driver. But secrets don't shout. They wait. And guilt makes good men easy to bind. After that, Amaka transformed. Queen's pictures moved from the center wall to the corner. She wore Queen's apron, cooked in Queen's kitchen, spoke like the future had already changed. "Eat, my husband," she would say softly. Each time, Chinedu flinched. But guilt sealed his lips. Amaka rearranged the house, packed Queen's clothes, discussed baby rooms, like Queen was already gone. And slowly, the house began to feel like a place waiting for a replacement. The doorbell rang just after noon. Amaka opened it casually and froze, because standing there was not just a visitor. It was Chinedu's mother, a woman whose presence alone could silence a room. She stepped inside slowly, eyes sweeping the house like a scanner at the airport. She didn't smile. She didn't greet Amaka first. She walked past her, straight to her son. Chinedu stood up quickly. "Mama!" She held his face in both hands. "My son," she whispered, voice soft but heavy. Then she turned toward the hallway. "Take me to my daughter. Not your wife. Not Queen. My daughter." At the hospital, she stood beside Queen's bed in silence. No crying, no drama, just looking. Her fingers brushed Queen's hand gently. She murmured quietly. Then she turned to her son. "When did this happen?" Chinedu swallowed hard, and for the first time since the poisoning, he spoke the whole truth. The guilt, the night, the pregnancy, the confusion. His mother listened without interrupting. But her eyes were already calculating. That evening, she returned to the house. And this time, she was not quiet. Amaka was in the living room arranging baby clothes like a showroom display. Chinedu's mother stood in the doorway watching her, long enough for the air to turn uncomfortable. Finally she spoke. "Whose house is this?" Amaka blinked. "Ma!" The older woman stepped forward slowly. I asked you a simple question. Whose house is this? Amaka straightened. Well, it's Chinedu's house, Ma. The woman nodded. And whose husband is Chinedu? Silence. Amaka opened her mouth, then closed it. The mother's gaze sharpened. My son's wife is in the hospital fighting for her life. She pointed gently but firmly at Amaka. And you are here arranging baby clothes like a shop owner. The room went still. Even the fan seemed to slow down. Amaka forced a small smile. Ma, I understand how this looks, but... The mother raised one hand. Not loud, not angry, just final. Stop. One word. Sharp enough to cut rope. She turned to her son. Chinedu, go outside. He hesitated. Now. He left, because even grown men obey their mother's tone. Then she faced Amaka fully, up close, eyes locked. My daughter, she said slowly. I have lived long enough to recognize hunger when I see it. Amaka swallowed. And yours is not the hunger for love. The mother leaned in slightly. It is the hunger for position. The words landed like stones. Amaka's smile vanished. The older woman straightened and spoke calmly. You say you are pregnant. Amaka nodded cautiously. The mother nodded back. Good. Then she added, tomorrow we go to the hospital. Amaka blinked. For what, Ma? The mother smiled. A small, knowing smile. For confirmation. The room fell silent. Because in that moment, Amaka understood. This woman was not here to mourn. She was here to investigate. And for the first time since the poisoning, Amaka felt something she hadn't felt in weeks. Fear. The next morning, the hospital corridor felt colder than usual. Amaka sat stiffly in the waiting area, one hand on her stomach, the other clutching her bag like it could hold her confidence together. Chinedu stood beside the wall, quiet. His mother sat upright in the chair, calm as a judge before verdict. When the nurse returned, she handed the file to the older woman. Congratulations. The nurse smiled politely. The pregnancy is confirmed. Amaka exhaled. Slow. Relieved. Because at least that part of the lie was real. But secrets don't shout. They wait. Chinedu's mother nodded once. Thank you, she told the nurse. Then she turned to Amaka, and for the first time, she smiled warmly. Not forced. Not sharp. Warm. My daughter, she said gently. This is good news. Amaka blinked, surprised. Because she expected anger, suspicion, judgment, not
My daughter,
kindness.
this is
the
good
older
news.
woman placed a hand on her shoulder. In our family, she continued softly, when a woman is expecting her first child, she does not stay in the city. Amaka frowned slightly. What do you mean, Ma? The mother's smile widened. It is our tradition. The woman returns to the village. Pause. She is cared for, fed properly, protected. Pause. She stays there until the baby is born. Amaka's stomach tightened, because suddenly, the plan she thought she was controlling was no longer hers. Chinedu looked up. Mama, is that necessary? His mother turned to him calmly. My son, do you want this child to grow strong? He hesitated. Yes. Do you want peace while your wife recovers? He nodded slowly. Then let us follow tradition. Amaka forced a laugh. But Ma, my work,
But Ma, my work, my
friends.
friends, Lagos.
The older woman squeezed her hand gently. My daughter, a mother's journey begins with sacrifice. Her voice softened further. And I will personally take care of you. There was no arguing with that tone. It sounded like kindness. It felt like protection. But something in Amaka's chest shifted uneasily. Because for the first time since she entered Queen's house, she was being moved. Not by force, by tradition. That evening, Amaka packed her bags. Queen was still in the hospital. Chinedu stayed by her side. And Amaka left Lagos in the back seat of a car beside the woman who saw through her. She stared out the window as the city lights faded behind her. She thought she was heading to comfort, to care, to safety. She didn't know. She was heading into a life she had never imagined. Because Chinedu's mother was not just taking her to the village. She was taking her to consequences. And somewhere in the hospital, Queen's fingers twitched again. Just slightly. but enough to whisper one thing. Amaka stared out the window, one hand resting lightly on her stomach. Her reflection stared back at her, calm, composed, almost victorious, and in her mind, she smiled. Well, this may not have been the original plan, but it's not bad. She adjusted in her seat. Queen is not coming back anyway. A small pause, and I am carrying Chinedu's child. Her lips curve slightly. Even if she wakes up, it's too late. He's mine now. She glanced at Chinedu's mother sitting beside her, the older woman's face unreadable in the passing streetlights. Amaka relaxed further, and I have his mother's heart. She likes me now. So either way, I win. She leaned her head back, satisfied. The road stretched ahead into darkness, but what she didn't know was that some roads don't lead to victory. They lead to exposure. Now, the question is, did Amaka really win? What does the village hold for her? Is Queen going to wake up? The story continues. Watch out for part 3. Like, comment and subscribe so that you don't miss out.